welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae and here we do all things book obsessing, crying with fictional characters, hyper fixating on fictional worlds and characters. And if that sounds like your thing to do, welcome, stay a while, subscribe, like, and comment, and we can become book besties and just yap about all these wonderful, amazing books. Today we're going to talk about my December wrap up, all the books that I read in December, my thoughts on them, my star ratings, and a little synopsis of kind of what the story is. Hopefully we can explain these books cohesively. You'll see kind of, I might not, I love to read on the vibes and give out the vibes. Sometimes I will love the story. I might not fully understand the entirety of like the characters or the plot as a whole, but like, if that makes sense, you know, like I know the story, but I can't properly articulate it sometimes. So you'll see there's a few books in here that case, it goes to that case, but I still really enjoy those books. My goal for the month, okay, was to read. My December TBR was to finish Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, finish Quicksilver, Read a Little Life, The Shadow of the Gods, Zodiac Academy 1, 2, and 3, Firefly Lane, How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year, Spectacular, The Christmas Tree Farm, Harry Potter 1 and 2, Crescent City 1, 2, and 3. I don't know who let me come up with that TBR because I did not achieve that, okay? It was a holiday season and I was traveling and doing lots of things. So there's we did not read all those books. We did read 8, okay? And we started 1. So let's talk about my thoughts on them. So far in my ratings, I have my laptop over here with my ratings so I can see them. My first goal for December was to finish Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by JLA. This is book 2 in the From Blood and Ash series. I had reread From Blood and Ash a few months ago, or like I think in November maybe. I listened to an audiobook. That was a reread for me. I read it many, many years ago and it was like okay, but I saw everyone raving about the series and the interconnected series, and as the series as a whole, as it progresses, getting better and better. So I reread it with audio. I really enjoyed the audiobook. I had a fun time. I already knew it was gonna happen most of the time anyway, so I was just trying to get through it to kind of refresh myself on the ideas. But this plot twist at the end were fun to see again. And then I got into this book. I love this book. This book was so fun. After reading this book, my goal is to read 1 book in the series a month until the new release, and the last release I think comes out in June. So I literally had such a good time. The audiobooks are so fun because also, first of all, the book is huge. So the audiobook just makes it go by. It feels like you're watching a movie, and I just love the characters in here so far. So this book, if you don't know, this is a book that I was talking about. It's really hard for me to articulate how to explain what this book is about and the characters in the world, but when you're in it, you're immersed and you're loving it, even if you're kind of confused at times. But we had our main character Poppy, and she was known as a maiden in this world where there were kind of gods and people with magical powers and different creatures. She lived in a city where she was being protected by the Duke and Duchess, and she was viewed as a prized possession to be given to the gods, and so she was kept with a veil covering her. No one saw what she looked like, no one spoke to her except for those like in her close circle. And so she ends up meeting Hawk in the first book, and he becomes her guard, and she kind of learns more about the world. Her eyes are kind of open to what she was told versus the reality of the situation. And there's just a lot going on in this book. There's different creatures that give off kind of werewolves and vampires. We have a found family, we have like war, high stakes politics, we have a romance, we have traveling. They're going to like expanding on the world, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So this book takes place right after the first book ends, and with that cliffhanger, I was so excited to go into this book. And again, we have the found family, there's traveling, there's like enemies, we have politics, scheming, and I'm eating it up, okay? It was so good. It was so much fun. There's a side character in here that I absolutely love, and I swear he better not die and better not become evil because he's such a fun comedic relief, and he's just so entertaining. And the banter between even the found family as well as the couple in here is just so much fun to listen to with the audiobook. And again, there's always plot twists, shocking things that are happening. And the ending of this, I was really like, I need to continue. Okay, I need to continue. So this book was a 4-star for me. I really had a good time with it. I can't wait to continue because I think the spin-off interconnected prequel series is supposed to be even better. But so far, I'm really enjoying this book. Again, I do think that the audiobook for me has helped me to enjoy it even more because I feel like it's such a thick book, and I recently have realized I don't love when I take super long reading books because I feel pulled out of the story. So with the audiobook, I'm able to like read it more consistently than I would if I was like physically reading it, and it takes me quicker than if I were to physically read the book. And so I'm like fully immersed in it and like wanting to listen to it whenever I can. So I'm so excited. I'm reading the next book in January. If you saw my TBR, it's linked over here, but I'm planning on reading it in January, and I'm so excited to continue with the series. But there's a reading order that maybe I'll put a picture here, but I'm so excited. I love the characters so far. I love Poppy, I love Hawk, I love Kieran. That's the guy that I love. Okay, he's a bestie. And just a found family in here is so fun. I highly recommend the audiobook. We have magical elements, magical powers, magical creatures, we have gods, warriors, queens, kings, kingdoms, everything, and I'm so excited. Also, I didn't really say the main plot too is that we have like this one kingdom that's like the main kingdom, and they have like the gods they give, like they're giving the maiden to, and then they worship. There's also like another leader who is viewed as a dark one, and they're like, he was rebellious, he's evil, blah 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 blah. So it's kind of those two opposing sides kind of more interacting with each other, and that's where like the big like conflict is occurring. They're doing construction outside, like I'm not filming. But I really enjoyed this book and I can't wait to continue. Next, I read Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This book has been blowing up all over Book Talk, Bookstagram, all the things, okay? And this is a romantasy book following our female main character. They live in this world where there's like different sections, and she lives like one of the more poor sections. We start off with her, she's stealing something from a guard from the queen, and she ends up getting caught and being taken to the queen to kind of confront her transgressions and deal with that. And then she ends up meeting Kingfisher, okay? He ends up coming, and it's a whole big ordeal. And then we get thrusted into this new magical world with magical creatures and elements and powers. And everyone said to read the audiobook for this, and the audiobook was superb, okay? I love the audiobook because it's like dual narrator. You get Kingfisher's voice. Everyone loves Kingfisher, and I do love Kingfisher as well. The romance in here was really fun. He was great. He was like, it's like an enemies to lovers, forced allies, close proximity, having to work together. And I really did enjoy this book. I will say the more that I sit on it and think about it, I don't think I loved it as much as everyone else did. I really enjoyed it, but there were certain things that I feel like weren't touched upon well, and that maybe that's going to be spoken about in the next book. But for me, I feel like there are certain things that were kind of brought up but not gone into in depth, and I was kind of like, why are we not going into that? Like, why is that not important currently? You know, but the ending was really good. I really enjoyed it. Again, I think this is gonna be like a 3.5, 3.75 star book. I did enjoy it. Again, the audiobook made it really entertaining. I just feel like I wasn't as amazing as I thought it might have been with the hype, but I still really enjoyed it, and I do recommend it, and the audiobook, because again, we love a good dual narrator of audiobooks. I just feel like there were some plot points that weren't touched upon that I wanted more information on, and it became very heavy on the romance at certain parts. But overall, I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to continue with the series. Next, we're getting into, so those are the two books that I had to finish that I had read in November, started November, but I didn't finish it until December, so I finished them in December. Next, we have the Christmas books I read for December. So we have How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. This is like an enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, forced proximity, competition, fake dating, kind of the tropes in this book. We have our female main character, and she is moving back into the small town where she's used to visit a lot to kind of help her grandma. And then while she's there, she ends up entering into this like Christmas contest. This town is like Christmas obsessed, and they have a contest throughout the month of them like doing different activities and trying to become like the most Christmassy person in the town. And then the main guy is living next door to her, and there was like a past between them, something had happened and they stopped talking, and so he kind of holds a grudge against her for like leaving the town. And so he's like, oh, she cannot become the winner of this competition, she doesn't even live here and she left, so I'm gonna enter now and compete against her so I can beat her. And then we get a little romance going on. This was really fun. It was full of very festive Christmassy activities. They were like making candy canes, they were decorating the house. Everyone said to get the audiobook for this, and I highly recommend it. Again, dual narrators. We have a narration for the male and female POVs. There's also, before each chapter, this little narrator that speaks kind of like in How the Grinch Stole Christmas in the movies. How there's like the little like book narrator talking about like the story, and so he's in that as well as like its own character and interacting with the male character. So it's really funny listening to that. I personally really recommend the audiobook, and I loved it. I gave this book a 3.75. I really enjoyed it. I will say that the ending conflict was very predictable, and I really hoped that it wasn't gonna happen, and it did, and I was like, are you serious? But overall, it was really entertaining. It's just a Christmas book. It's my first time really reading like Christmas themed or holiday themed books for December, and I had a lot of fun with them. But I personally just enjoyed it. I thought it was like fun, mindless. The audiobooks were great. It is thicker. That's why I feel like the audiobook also makes it easier to fly through. I had a lot of fun seeing it. It is spicy, I would say that. It does get spicy in this book. But overall, I did enjoy the book and had a lot of fun reading it. Next, I read The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This is known to be a Knives Out / romance holiday novel. Our main two characters are kind of rivals, and they end up being sent to this house for like a Christmas dinner, and then it becomes a murder mystery. They're both writers for a publishing company, and so they end up going to this house, and something happens, and now there's like a murder mystery. They're looking for someone. There's just things happening, and it's kind of like them trying to solve the clues and figure out exactly what happened and where people, like what's going on. I really enjoyed this book. I will say part of the issue was me. Okay, it's really short, really short. You see that? You see that? Do you see that? It took me like a week to read it because I just wasn't sitting down to read. I was busy. Again, it was a holiday season, but I just was not reading it. And this book is meant to be read like in one sitting, 2 sittings. The whole point is it's a murder mystery. You want to keep reading it to figure out what's going on, plus the romance in here. But I really enjoyed this book. I give it a 4 star. I will probably reread it again and just like binge it in a day next year, or this year, I suppose. But I really enjoyed it. The romance I thought was really sweet. I liked their main guy character, and just the way he kind of felt and like expressed his feelings was really sweet, and just like how the romance blossomed. The mystery aspect was really fun, trying to figure out their clues. Our main girl writes mystery like books, and so she's like kind of using what she knows and also what she knows from her favorite author and trying to apply that into solving the clues. So it was really entertaining, it was really fun. I highly enjoyed it, and I feel like I would want to read more books like this as a whole, but also like in the Christmas time. I feel like it's just like a fun take on a Christmas holiday novel because it's not super Christmassy, but it's during like the holiday season, and then the murder mystery with romance. Like it's just like a fun little book to read that's like fast paced, but also with that romance, but then also that mystery element that I really enjoyed. So highly recommend this one. Next, I read The Christmas Tree Farm by Lori Gilmore. This was my first book by her. I know she has a pumpkin spice cafe and like the the cinnamon bun bookstore. I haven't read those two because by the time I was like actually going to read them, it was the holiday time. So I decided to get the Christmas one, and I really enjoyed this one. This probably is my favorite of the 3 Christmas ones that I read. I gave this one a 4-star. It follows our 2 main characters, and she's kind of like the grumpy and he's more of the sunshine. She ends up moving into this town, and she ends up buying this Christmas tree farm that's kind of in shambles, and she's trying to put it back together to make it profitable and move away from the life that she was previously living and trying to be more independent and self-sufficient. And he's also there visiting his sister. His sister is actually the girl who is the owner of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which is the first book. And so he's kind of there visiting for the holidays, and they kind of form a relationship, and he's helping her out. He has some of his own issues going on because he is known to be like a helper, a fixer-upper, to a fault where his past relationships have failed because they were using him for help, and then they would stop, and then he would go back to them whenever they needed help again. So he's trying to learn how to also deal with that and not fall into that cycle again. But I thought this was really sweet. I love their romance. I love the Christmas tree farm aspect and the found family aspect of just all the characters and all the people that live in the community. I just loved seeing all the aspects. It was like a fun, short, sweet little holiday read. I honestly, like, this is a book I would reread in the winter time just to get that like wholesome, cozy vibes again. But this is like a more of a genre that I feel like would be perfect in that time of the year. I thought it was just perfect, exactly what I wanted for the holiday season. You get that romance, grumpy sunshine, forced proximity, found family, small town, and I really enjoyed it, and it's making me want to go back and read the first 2 books. I don't know how good those other ones are, but personally I really enjoyed this one. I ate it up and I had a great time. So I would recommend this one. Perfect for the winter, holiday, Christmas season. Next, let's talk about a series that I started, guys. We finally did it. We started Zodiac Academy. I've been on the itch to start this series for so long, and I finally did it. Also, Larry Reed's had a YouTube video of her reading through them all, and I wanted to watch it, but I wanted to read the series. So now I have to read them so I can go watch it. Like, I'm so excited to watch her reaction to the books. But we started this series. I'm so excited. I read the first and second one in December. So if you don't know what this book is about, it follows these 2 twin sisters, Tori and Darcy Vega. And in the beginning of the book, they're living in the mortal realm. They are trying to just make ends meet and survive. They were previously in foster care system, and now that they're 18, they're living on their own, just trying to survive and get out of this town that they were living in. And they end up meeting this guy who was like, by the way, you guys are actually heirs to the throne of Solaria, the Fae realm. And your parents died. We thought you died. But since you're not dead, you guys have to come back, go to the academy, and you're able to take back your throne to become the queens of Solaria. And at first they were hesitant about it, but then he was like, you also get an inheritance, and they're low on money, and they're like, you know what? A place to stay, food, and money. Why not just go see what it's all about? We don't have to take up our thrones, but we can just go and see what it's about. So they go and they enter into the academy, and there's a lot of mixed things. People who've read the series either diehard love it and obsess, or it's just not their thing. I am personally eating it up so far. It's a very much of a guilty pleasure, which I don't like saying, because if you're enjoying the book, why is it guilty? Like, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. But it's just entertaining. It's giving very kind of lifestyle TV. It's not like a literary masterpiece, but it's so much fun. We have our 2 twins who end up going to the school, and then there's these 4 boys that are the heirs to the throne, because when the twins' parents died, there's different elemental magic in here. So we have fire, water, air, and earth. And so they've had the heirs, or one for each of those houses, and they're going to take up the throne. So their parents are currently ruling it, and then once the boys graduate the academy, they get to work together and take over the throne. But now the Vega twins are here to compete against them, and so they don't like that. So we have a bully romance going on, okay? The boys against the girls, and the back and forth competitions, and I'm eating it up. I know who some of the couples are going to be. I'm excited to see them come into fruition. I know there's a lot of pain that occurs, and I think book 4, which I'm excited for, I'm already attached to the characters, and this book obviously continues on with this. I'm not going to go too into depth about these 2 books, but I really am enjoying this series, and I'm already attached to the characters. I can't wait to see where the books go. I am going to, I think, read it in a certain order that someone had posted, and I think read the first 3 books in this series, and then you go into the Dark Fae verse, which is a prequel series, I think, and then you go back to this. I'm gonna give it a try. We'll see. Let me know down below if you have any recommendations. If not, I might just binge the Zodiac Academy series. But these are also on Kindle Unlimited, so I've been reading on my Kindle. I also did listen to the second one with the dramatized audio, which was amazing. It's like listening to a movie, really entertaining, and it kind of just brings the book to life. And I'm currently reading the third one with the regular audio and on my Kindle. But I am really enjoying it so far. It is a bully romance going on. Well, not much romance really, these books, but it is a bully romance because obviously these guys are bullying them and they're bullying back and they're trying to get revenge on the guys for what they're doing. It's very, some of the things I did in the beginning few books, I was like, excuse me. But yes, we have Tori, Darcy as the twins, and then we have Darius, Caleb, Max, and Seth as the heirs, and then we have Professor Orion, who's the professor, and then we have some friend groups that are happening in this book as well, which I'm really enjoying. But yes, anyways, I'm enjoying it. It's like drama, entertainment, fun. We have like trials, revenge. I'm eating it up. And there's different creatures in here as well. There's like, people can shapeshift and turn into like werewolves, vampires, Pegasus, so many different things, all the different magical elements. So it's really fun, entertaining. I'm excited to see where the series continues, and I feel like it will be a hyperfixation for me. Lastly, everyone, give me a round of applause. We read The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is an epic fantasy, and it's a Norse-inspired epic fantasy, which is really my first, I think, like epic fantasy I've ever read. It is a lot. If my thoughts, again, aren't cohesive on this one, it's because I'm still trying to figure it out. This is the first book in a series or trilogy. I know the second one's out and the third one just came out. I ended up tabbing it about a third of the way into the book, if you can see. At first I wasn't gonna tab it, but then there was so much information. I was like, I feel like tabbing it helped me like really pinpoint information so I can also go back on it and see exactly what was happening in this book. And I will also say, guys, I started reading it physically. I ended up getting the audiobook because I was reading it when I was traveling back home from Nashville and I was in the car for many hours. So I got the audiobook to read along with it. So I did an immersive read, which is listening to it while reading it. And that was 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Reading it by myself, there's a lot of terminology in here, characters, languages that I cannot say or know how to pronounce, so it was kind of hard and took away from the story because I was trying to figure out exactly what it was, and then if I mispronounce it, then I forgot what I said and who they all are. But then with the audiobook, obviously it does it for you. It keeps the book going along, and so I really enjoyed that, and I'm probably gonna do the audiobooks with the book throughout the series. This book I had such a great time with. So this book I gave a 4.5 star to. Again, this is my first epic fantasy and I'm proud of myself for even finishing it and like semi-understanding what occurred. When I tell you that my jaw was on the floor throughout this book, so many things happen. So this book follows 3 different characters and 3 different POVs, and they're all on their own journeys or quests at the moment in this book. And we have Varg, we have Elvar, and Orca. And so Orca is living in this small town and she's living with her husband and her son. And then we have Varg, who was just enslaved and now he's free. And then we have Elvar, who is one of the top warriors working for this guy who was like their chief warrior. That's essentially the main POV so far. We have some mystery elements going on. There are kids being stolen and taken. And then we have just different quests that were going on, okay? In this book, we have gods, and they had a huge war and battled each other, and during their battle, it kind of like destroyed the world. They had like chasms opening up that creatures that one of the gods had made were created, and they're like the evil creatures in this book and like monsters. And then we also had one of the gods had created a bloodline, and so there are certain people in this book who have the blood of the gods in them, and so as a result, they also have magical powers or can like shapeshift into creatures. And it's kind of looked down upon. They're called tainted in this book. We also have these things called thralls, which are slaves in this book. People will take usually one of the people that have the blood of the god in them, thrall them, make them slaves, and then use them as like their weapons. They have like a collar around their neck that they can control, and a lot of the higher up people in this will have them to use as like their weapon when they're doing their, doing their thing. Then we also just regular thralls, that are people just enslaved and working for different people. And so that's what's kind of going on in this book. And then we also have the Bloodsworn, which is this really well-known group of warriors who are like, kind of hired to find people, seek things, come about wars, etc. And so they are currently on a quest. And then we also, when I said Elvar, she's on a quest with her chief and they're looking for someone. So kind of all is different storylines going together, and you're trying to see like how they're gonna all connect and what's gonna happen. And it was a lot of fun when I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, they said this and they're going there and now it's gonna all come together. Or like, oh, they're talking about this and now they're talking about this. The amount of times my jaw was literally like, they're connecting, and I can't wait to see even more how they connect in the later 2 books. Like, also, no one is safe, okay? No one is safe. I knew from the beginning for one of the characters, I was like, oh, this is gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen because it's gonna push the story forward. And it did, and I was still upset by it. My feelings were hurt because I was like, what do you mean? What? There's also different creatures in here. And I was telling someone on my book talk, they need visuals. Like I wish we had like little sketches in the books of these creatures that you came up with, because what do you mean it's a worm with a mouth, with eyes, with teeth that have sharp teeth, rows of teeth, and they talk? What is that? And then this other creature, I think it's like kind of like a dragonish looking thing. I don't even know, but it was so entertaining. And oh, there was just the way I got attached to certain characters or creatures, and was like, please come back, please come back. And then like seeing them and I'm like, ah, like it was so great. Okay. And I was really shocked. I'm thinking about the ending right now. One of the scenes, I literally, oh my gosh, I was like, and even certain parts I knew were gonna take place, but it wasn't that I think it was supposed to be necessarily a plot twist, but it was more about like, how is this gonna impact the story and how is it going to play a role in the rest of the book and the next books. So I don't know, I ate this up. I really enjoyed having the audiobook. Just thinking about it, like I'm literally still shocked all over again with all the different things that happen. And I really want to read the next one soon because I don't want to forget this. I feel like I still need someone to go in depth and like spell it out with a diagram for me and like a map. I literally had the map in the front and I was like writing down names of like, okay, this person's here, because I was like trying to keep it all together and see how they're gonna intertwine. But I really enjoyed this book. I'm so happy I finally gave John Gwynn's book a try. I can't wait to continue with the series and read more by him. I do have Malice up on my bookshelf, which is another series by him that I really want to get to. And I did order the second book in the series, so hopefully we can read it maybe in February. But this book was really good, and again, a 4.5 star. My first dip in epic fantasy. I was scared my brain couldn't handle it, but we did it successfully, okay? And it was just so entertaining as a whole, just the characters, the found family aspect as well, of your family that you kind of raised and grew up with, but also the fact that you can create your own family and you can form friendships and family with other people that doesn't have to be your blood. And I really appreciate that and love that. And just as a whole, just I love seeing the different POVs. Also, each chapter POV, there was not one that I specifically was like, like, can we just get over with it so I can get to the next one? Like, every single POV has something going on with it. I would finish one POV and want to get more about what's going on there, but then we got to the next POV and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to know what's happening here. So just constantly, I'm just entertained by all the POVs, and so it was just like such a great story, and seeing it all not even come together yet, okay? We have more books in the series, but making its way to coming together, I'm so excited. And the ending, like I said, just the ending of what happened, like several things I'm thinking of right now, and I'm like, and different connections that we talked about, but they haven't like actually like connected, but I know that there are connections. I can't wait to see in the next few books. Anyways, I highly recommend this book. If you're intimidated, read it slowly, get the audiobook while you eyeball read it, annotate it. It doesn't have to be crazy annotating, but just, you know, helps you figure things out, helps you remember things when you annotate and underline and circle. So I really enjoyed this book, and I'm happy that I read it. These are all the books that I read in December. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books that we read in December, and I'm so happy with all of them. I can't wait to continue reading amazing books in January and for this new year of reading and yapping about books. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts are on them, and let me know what books you read in December, and I'll see you guys in my next one.